I either crawl back and make it from this or we're done.
Moved in a camper van to Rome, stayed in a car park outside the factory.
I just would want to throw it at his head.
You seen Tommy ride a road bike?
No, but I've heard that.
Right then, welcome back, guys. We've made it to episode 3 with Against the Rut. We've got Bill, we've got Dean. How are we, boys? You all right?
Doing all right, mate. Billy, how goes it? How's things?
I'm all right. Had a bit of a bad weekend in Turkey last week and hard enduro world of things. Had some, bad race. Felt ill. Bad weekend all around, really. But let's we'll try and keep the mood positive, so we'll avoid talking about my last race if possible.
You kicked off well, didn't you, Dean? Got the Australian series and a couple of wins.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a good start to the season. It was the first 2 rounds back to back, won every race, so that was good. And the good thing is it's full points per main event. There's 2 main events per night, so I collected a full 100. So that was a really good start. And honestly, my body felt good, which I was happy about. Obviously, the last few podcasts I've been whinging about how I felt with my back and my knee, but I feel like my body's starting to recover. And I'm kind of just feeling good again on the bike, and feeling good health wise. So yeah, it was good. It's good to get the red plate. Obviously, everyone kind of seen it was a tough weekend for me with my mom passing. She passed on race day on Sunday. So that was very, very tough to go through. And yeah, I mean, it's just part of life. It was tough to get through that on race day and just kind of lock in, as you should say. And we still got the job done, made her proud. And, day by day, I'm getting better. So, yeah, just got to do her proud. And, yeah, we're still out here in Australia. I was actually going to fly out right after the race before that happened. But nothing really I can do over there now. So, anyways, bring the vibes back up. Tom, you're on holiday. Must be nice, mate. Me and Billy are slaving away. And you're just by the beach, feet up. Must be nice.
Life of a domestic rider in a kid's class.
It's tough. It is tough because I've rushed back now and I've got sand everywhere, all in between my toes and that in a minute.
That must be rough.
I'm sat here.
That's tough, man.
Just a bit uncomfy, just sand everywhere. But I'm going to be back out in a minute after this is done. The butler's at the door. Wait a minute. Just give me 5 minutes, mate. That's all right. Sorry about that.
So today's main topic is about bike manufacturers, rider switching teams, what makes them switch teams, everything that goes on behind that. And so, yeah, I mean, we can talk about why Tomac is switching to KTM. Man, there are so many switches going on for next year. It's actually crazy. You got guys are going to Yamaha, Herlings going to Honda, Sexton going to Kawi, Tomac going to KTM. It's a big lot of switcheroos happening. I guess kind of the main question is, why are they switching? And there's a lot of reasons why, really. I mean, obviously money is one. But as in Tomac's instance, I think he was just caught in a bad place at a bad time. I think he had an opportunity, and don't quote me on this, but I think he had an opportunity to sign with Yamaha earlier on, but he waited it out. Obviously, he's kind of always in limbo if he wants to keep going or not. They signed Danger Boy, and then they have Cooper, and then they have Jacob. So they already have 3 450 guys. And then Sexton moves from KTM to Kawi. That opens a slot. And there really wasn't a lot of slots open for him. I think that his best bet was to go with factory KTM. They're proven. It's a huge switch up, though. It's huge. He's a big cable clutch guy, and KTM is hydraulic clutch. So that's going to be interesting. And yeah, it's a bit odd for sure. It's going to be strange to see him on an orange bike, just to be so successful on the Yamaha, last year or two, going to be on the orange bike. So what do you reckon? What's your thoughts?
I don't really know what I want to say.
Yeah, I was going to say for you, it's quite hard because you never switched the team.
Well,
really.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm ending 9 years on one bike. I'm one club team, one player club. Forgot what the football scene is at the minute because there just isn't really the options in my world. But it's cool. One thing I would say, though, is it's pretty mad when you think about the last 3-4 years, the amount of manufacturers that have seemingly arrived in the sport hasn't quite filtered its way into the enduro side. But I think I do have some hope and confidence that it's kind of will head that direction. Tom's had a few moves, but done a bit of moving and shaking over the years.
Yeah. like Dean said, there is so many, and even when you started naming them, it sort of was like, bloody hell, that's literally nuts what's going on. And
Yeah, that's
all of
what
them
I
are like the
thought.
very best, like they are the top names, whether it's Tim Geiser, Jeffrey Herlings, Tomac, Sexton, Prado. They are all literally
Yeah.
world
The
AMA.
Herlings Geyser one's pretty mad because, like,
Yeah,
yeah, no one. Well, there's no other image or recollection of them being on any other bike. Like, it's
Yeah.
that Geyser, Fox, and Honda is like all you've ever seen. Herlings, A-Stars, KTM, Red Bull is like all you've ever seen. Like, it's pretty nuts to think about it.
yes,
I can't
it's
picture it at
exciting
all.
to see. Yeah, it's like I generally can't wait. Normally you'll be like everything just filters around. Jeffrey does a photo shoot, looks the same as he done his photo shoot in 2009 on his
Yeah,
KTM,
literally.
and then Geyser's the same. He wears his red Fox gear, and it all looks pretty. Always looks good, but always looks very similar to years prior. And then I don't know in those I don't know in those situations. I think it come down to money a lot because I can't imagine they were really searching for much. Both are up there with their current bikes. It's not like guys are struggling, and it's not like Jeffrey Herlings is struggling. So I think through the grapevine that come down to money, and I think the pair of those in motocross sort of pushed the money up over the last few years because Geyser was getting this much, and Jeffrey was saying, "Well, I'm not going to ride for less because I'm five-time champ, and I'm going to fight for the championship." And if he's getting paid, I don't know, so many million, at least a few million, I would have thought they've both been on over the past few years, and they bumped the market up between the pair of them, and then I think it's had to drop a little bit for the
Yeah, it's
both
just
this
eventually
season.
been squeezed just with current times, and I think like the whole industry is still not kind of recovered from that post-COVIDness, and like I think everyone's gone, "Whoa, this is getting out of hand." Like there's a stop needs not a stop. That's the wrong word, but like a reevaluation needs to be done
Yeah,
here.
Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting, man. There's so many switch ups. I'm looking forward just to watching, both MXGP and Supercross, and then you forget Prado switching to KTM as well, and
Yeah, that's interesting.
that was a big controversy. But it looks like it's happening. Same as you, Bill. Well, maybe way more so. He's ridden a KTM his whole life, and then he's jumped on a Cowie, struggled a bit. The thing was, he was making some big money between Fox and Monster Cowie, and to walk away from that and go back to KTM, that means he truly believes that he can still win on a KTM. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do when he gets back on the KTM.
It shows like mentally kind of where he was at. I think it seemed like like he's very confident in himself, and obviously that wasn't there at all this year. So I think for him, in some ways, obviously certain things he did in races or whatever that he's gonna. I think he lost quite a bit of like US fandom from, but I think it also just shows his belief in himself. I think for him to show that and prove to himself that this wasn't him, he can still do it. He can do it. He believes he can win. I think it is from himself like the best outcome really to get back onto what he knows, and it gives him the best possible opportunity to do what he knows
Yeah.
he can do for this year. I think, like I say, a lot of controversy around it, but for him, from his perspective, it's what I would want to do if I was him. Put it that way, is just to get back on familiar equipment and what he knows, and just show the world what he can do.
I think with the money thing and Prado, it doesn't matter how much money you're on to some extent. If you're not happy, then your life's in such a spiral
Yeah,
being a racer.
exactly.
Like we've both been in situations, or all three of us, there's
Yeah.
times where when it's hard, it doesn't matter whether you're earning big money. I mean, it's always nice, but it doesn't help your mental state if you're struggling
Yeah.
because the main thing that we all want to do as bike racers is be at the top and
Yeah.
perform at our best. And everything in a rider's life revolves around results, unfortunately, especially when you're in that peak part of your career, like Prado is making that move to America. I mean, he's obviously making very good money, but it's probably been the worst year of his life by a country mile. And that he would have
Mm-hmm.
took, I don't know, a third of that money to have gone out and won this year. Probably, he'd have probably gone out and won for nothing. Um,
Yeah.
it's
Definitely.
just everything relies around results, and the money thing, although people change for money, sometimes it doesn't pay off, like in this case.
One thing is probably that was bigger thing for him is just the changing of a team as well. Like, you think he's been on an Austrian bike in the kind of Ducati setup for so long, and just go to like everything is familiar down to testing before the season. Never mind changing a bike and then having a new team around him to learn. Like, you got to think each time a rider does
and
change.
Also language in his case.
Language. It's not like in other sports where like a rider will leave and then they might have the power to bring a mechanic with them or like one person, but like it's not like the whole infrastructure around them moves to the next team. It's like you've moved, this is your new home now, you've got to adapt to how we do things and how this works, which again, like for when someone's been at one place all of their life in their career, like I'm just thinking from my perspective, like I know how everything works when we do a test, who does what, and like it would be a very strange thing to do it in a different process, different way of doing things.
Tommy, you were also another guy. I mean, a lot of people just remember you always been on a Kawi, and now you've switched to the Triumph, which is a new team. And I mean, I feel like it looks really good. I think you look good on the bike. It's refreshing to see like a new team out there, and your setup looks nice, and the bike looks good, pulling some holies. Did you win their first ever championship?
Yeah.
So that's Tommy signed for life, hung the #1 up there. But I mean, what's like the big change from going to Kawi to Triumph? I mean, I've never ridden a Triumph, so does that feel more like a Japanese bike or more of an Austrian bike or a combination of both, or what's the deal with the Triumph?
I think it feels a combination of both. I was really, really, I think, surprised when I got on it and realised how good it was, because obviously with it being a new bike, like I remember when they talked about Gas and Husqvarna being in the KTM group, and it was a similar thing. I was like, well, Husqvarna's not going to be very good, even though it's within the KTM group. And then it come out and it was quite similar to the KTM, and then everyone wanted to jump on board. But the first people was a bit hesitant. And that's even when it's in a manufacturer like KTM. But with the Triumph, obviously they'd never done a motocross bike. You have your doubts how they're going to come in. And it really did surprise me when I rode the bike. I rode it one day, and Tedesco was at the track in Ashby, my local track where I go to, and I happened to just be doing a couple of motos, and I was trying to persuade the team at that point to go the Triumph direction, because I mean, for me, it just made sense being a British brand, me at the end of my career, Triumph like an iconic brand, and I wanted to try and have a future with that brand. That was always in my plans. When I heard that they was bringing a bike out, I thought, well, that's absolutely bang on. But the way the bike felt was, I don't know, it just felt so good. Like the front end feel, I can't really remember. It's been a long time since I've rode a KTM, but it just felt so comfortable, and so it gave me a lot of confidence coming into the corners compared to the Kawi that I was on that year. Because I remember being at the track riding the Kawasaki thinking, I absolutely love this bike at the minute. Like, it's not going to be better. And I jumped on the Triumph. I couldn't believe it. Within like half a lap, I was ripping round. And then it took me probably 5 laps, 6 laps to get back used to the Kawi. I'm in a little bit of a different positioning point in my career that I was looking more towards a future with the Triumph brand. But there have been times, the one that stands out for me when I switched teams was when I was on CLS Kawasaki and I went to the factory KTM team, because I wanted a fresh start, took a lot less money, almost over half, to go to a proven factory team, moved in a camper van to Rome, stayed in a car park outside the factory, or sorry, not the factory, the workshops of Decali. Lived in my camper for about 4 months throughout the winter. So literally all I wanted at that point in my career was a fresh start, and I took, yeah, like I said, a massive pay cut to go and do that, to try and prove myself, because I believed in myself and thought, I don't want to be back on the top. I don't care what it takes. I'm not worried about the money. I just want to get results again. And yeah, I put everything aside for that. Literally left Sophia in a little half-built house in England, which didn't really have electricity at the time, and upped and left to put everything out there to get my career back on track. And I think that's, as a rider, that's what you would do at the peak of your career. If you're in a tough spot, you'd literally give everything to go like you said, take a pay cut to try and do whatever it takes to get yourself back on track. And that's what I did. But I never, ever, throughout all the swaps in my career, really struggled so much with a bike. I also think that the bikes I was jumping on were always quite proven. So, like, you're never really going to struggle going from a Kawasaki team to a factory KTM team. It wasn't like you tested a million different things testing for that team. It was always quite strict. I remember having 3 engines to test, and they said, which one do you like best? I chose, I don't know, whatever one. I think we all ended up with the same one. I was on a 350 that year that sort of revved a bit longer. We all chose that and then worked from that. The same with the frames. I think we had 2 frames to choose from. Everyone chose the same frame, but it wasn't like we was filtering through hundreds of different parts all winter. It was very strict. This is what you got to test from one day: frames, maybe a swing arm, engines, and then obviously you had the choice of bars and bits and pieces. But maybe it's different for those that are at the very, very top of their game.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it kind of reminds me back when I was factory KTM, 2015 and 16, blew my knee out both years. Kind of just, I lost the opportunity to get re-signed, just didn't, I was injured. So that's when I was in the Sprinter van with my dad. And that was like one of those points in my career where it was like, oh man, I either crawl back and make it from this or we're done. And I tell you what, I did everything in my power to get back. I was riding a Yamaha, showed up to Anaheim in a Sprinter. You know, it was just me and my dad and my mom, and my friend Casey was mechanicking for me. And yeah, that was it. And I just did everything I could. So within 3 or 4 rounds, I was back on factory Husqvarna. And I remember when I got that phone call, it was the best phone call I've had in a long time, that I got back on the factory Husky team. And when I got on there, oh man, obviously from doing that little privateer stint, if I had to go get suspension, I had to drive an hour and a half to go pick it up and then fight the traffic home and then try and get in my training and then, you know, put it on and bike work, you know, after riding and all this. And that's what the privateers go through. So it's big respect to those guys. But it was just nonstop that whole time. And I was just willing and I was sacrificing everything to get back to where I needed to be. And so when I got that phone call, it was massive. So then when I was back on Husky, it was just suspension guy came. We tested
But
all
when you
suspension.
jumped on it, from that point, did you get on it and be like, "Oh, this is way better than that privateer bike I was on," or was
Oh,
it
it was
still a bit like I like the Yamaha, the way this done this or this done that, or was it just like night and day?
no, it was just night and day. Within the first day, I was already like riding pretty good, and the team was really stoked on me, and just all of the resources the factory teams have to try anything, subframes, bars, risers on the bars, suspension, engine stuff, so much stuff that like when I got on that team, that's when I just really I had so much gratitude and I was so appreciative of having that again. Because when that gets all taken off you and you're busting your bollocks, just trying to get to the races and trying to make a name for yourself again and get back, and then to get all that back, it was like very rewarding. And just man, I had so much of a different respect to be on a factory team again. It was like I never took being on a factory team for granted again. And it was just like a good hard life lesson.
What about Jeffrey then? If he's going to go from that bike, which KTM Husky, quite similar frames, etc., I would imagine he's quite a big bloke, like quite strong,
Yeah,
manhandles the bike. How do you
I
think
didn't
that
mean
will
like that.
suit that
Yeah,
Honda?
yeah. Yeah, so when I went on the Honda from the Husky, obviously I'm a bigger guy. So I'm 6'1", probably 6'2", but we're gonna keep knock it down an inch. Bike size is very important because when I was on factory KTM, one thing I always felt like on the KTM, I felt very cramped on the bike. My knees felt like they were bent more than normal on other bikes. Like I was I felt a little cramped. So when I went on the Honda, the frame and everything, I did feel a bit more spread out. I felt like it was a little bit of a bigger bike, but then some people said it's a smaller bike, but I felt
Yeah,
I was
like,
going to say that surprised me.
I
yeah,
thought you was going to say I felt more cramped on the Honda, which is
yeah,
why I
but
was saying, is Jeffrey going to feel more cramped
right.
or
I
not?
know, but you know, I feel better in the cockpit. And a lot of people, when they first see me on the Honda, was like, oh, you don't look as tall on the Honda. which I don't know. I mean, I
But
feel
I
like
guess
always
it
look
just
tall.
shows every riding style is also different as well. Like
Yeah, and you can set
massively.
the bike up. You can set the bike up. So, like, for instance, Jeffrey going to factory Honda, they have so much stuff they can do to the bike, make it he did feel cramped, which I'm sure he won't. But they can do so much things with the clamps. For myself, I ride with a taller seat, and then I don't run bar risers or nothing, but I do have a little bit of taller bar set up. But I have this seat that I run, and I literally can't ride without it. It's a tall seat, but it's called the RG wing seat that Guts make, and it's white on the seat. And the reason I have that, with me being taller, I can really lock in my knees and just like stay locked in. I've tried riding without it, just to try not ride with that, but I can feel the pull on my arms, and it really wears my shoulders out. So when I have that little fat sandwich on my seat, I can just grip the bike really good. But there's so many things you can do to a bike to adjust for your body type, even like, man, Alex Martin, or the shorter guys in the sport, they had foot pegs, and then they would weld another set of foot pegs on top, and then they would have a cut seat, then a cut subframe. The bike is really choppered out, but they still rip and go fast. And I'm sure Sasha Kunin probably has a very, low bike. So there's so much you can do to a factory bike to make it comfortable for yourself.
I don't really feel. Well, if I ride motocross and stuff, I don't feel like my bike's too small. It's only actually in kind of hard enduro in certain situations I would actually quite like a bigger bike. But it's funny, like what Dean's saying. We're obviously tall. I'm 6'2" also, but I like a skinny seat. I like a tall but skinny seat so that I can slide the bike underneath us and move it.
Yeah, it makes
If
sense.
my seat's too wide, I almost feel like too stuck to it.
Yeah, I mean, you're always flipping and maneuvering the bike where,
Yeah.
Supercross through the whoops, you're like, you need to stay gripped on that bike, and like, through the whoops, that seat is amazing. But with you, you're very like moving your hips and stopping and going over a log and
Yeah.
all that. So like, I can see how that makes sense as well. And Billy, you're really good with your feet too. That's one thing I noticed. You have trials bike background, right?
Yeah, so I agree. To be honest, like I did trials my whole childhood, only trials until I was 18. I didn't do anything else. Well, other than like 350 PW races when I was 6, then moved to trials until I was 18. So the trial skills are obviously there.
One thing you don't really do or don't see in America is the trials background, which is quite big in Europe. Like all the riders will sort of play on a trials bike in the winter, or a lot of them. But it looks so different. And then I've got my little boy, a little Osset, Alfie, for his 6th birthday, which is literally in a week's time. But then I look at like the trials riders and the technique that they have to a technique that motocross riders have. And I know Prado was one of like a very good trials rider growing up in Spain. I'm not sure if he was like a youth Spanish champion. I'm pretty sure he was, wasn't he, Bill?
I don't know. He's a bit younger than me. Like he didn't get to like an international level, but I mean, I've seen videos of him on a trials bike. He's like, it's incomparable watching him ride one to watch you ride one. Put it that way.
What, he's better or?
You're better.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen
But
him
then,
have you seen Tommy ride a road bike with the knee out?
No, but I've heard that.
yeah, I'm not good at much stuff.
But to be honest,
honestly.
I actually went on a road bike simulator and then I watched the video back afterwards and it was like beyond embarrassing. I'm like, I said to Roxy, why did you not get me off that thing? It was like horrific. I was borderline probably not supposed to be on it anyway, but I was like, oh, I'll have a go anyway. Like, hopefully no one's going to watch a post
It's
video.
embarrassing.
And then
I'm going to the MotoGP this weekend. Speaking of
have a go.
Whereabouts is it this weekend? Oh, Australia, obviously. Phillip Island.
Indy.
Island, yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, what's in Indy? Formula One. I say I'm getting confused with the old Lando, just giving it big licks out on the back of my guard, mate. He's right.
It's a good thing them ratchet straps were tight there.
Me and Bill were talking yesterday because we was going to say like maybe mention it on here, but then I was sort of made fun that he was sat a bit too far back, and Bill said about the straps. It was strapped down, wasn't it?
It was
taking
no risk. No risk.
No risk, which I cannot blame him. But
precious
then
cargo.
I said at the same time, if someone said getting a Formula One car and how I would hold a steering wheel, they'd probably go, this bloke can't even hold a steering wheel.
Yeah.
Where we look at someone jump on a motocross bike and go, you move up forward a bit and probably twist that re-grip a little bit and you'll be away there. But it was, back to the technique thing. So you think even in the trials it transfers, and you're saying this
No, I
transfers,
mean,
that transfers, but it's so
well,
different.
it's
So I
very
don't know when
different.
I'm teaching Alf to go over a thing, where would I, like, the feet forward in trials is like on your heels, isn't it?
I wouldn't say heels. It's never on your heels, but I agree. Like, there's a lot to learn. I mean, I think trials is more good just for balance, wheel positioning, and stuff like that. So if you're teaching him to kind of do like figure of eights or eventually go around rocks and stuff like that, you're going to understand where your front wheel is in relation to where your back wheel is. And then clutch and throttle control, I think more than anything, is the biggest thing. Like and
Yeah.
just reading of the terrain and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. Like when I changed from trials, I was very dangerous and I had a lot to learn. Like there was things you almost needed to forget as well. And I would say like foot position and the way your body weight forward and backwards is one of them things. Like there's things you need to forget, but the kind of fundamentals it teaches you of like, throttle control, balance, just reading of the terrain and I think also just kind of understanding the bike and weight of the foot pegs. Like you think to counterbalance and to keep your balance, there's definitely a lot of things you can take from it if you just remember there's certain things to forget or relearn, which you find out by crashing into trees repeatedly.
What about in enduro, if a manufacturer could come into your sport or change, what do you think will change soon, or something that will come into that sport? And then the same sort of for you, Dean. Obviously in us, we've had a lot of, I don't know, in the last year or 2 years, it's been pretty mad what we've had coming into the sport in terms of Triumph, Ducati. I mean, even Beta, which is from the trials world, now coming in, and they've got a factory team in Supercross, a factory team in motocross. It hasn't really yet come to enduro as such, but what do you think will change over the next few years in like big things in our world,
I think
or nothing? Or
I think competition's always good. If it's a few extra places for riders to go and stuff like that, like it's tricky in ours because there's not like an abundance of younger riders that kind of are challenging the top guys. So like it's hard to say how many rides there should be or how many rides the sport needs. But don't get me wrong, like any kind of competition in terms of they're going to offer this much, they're going to offer this much is good. The one tricky thing is, I think in enduro is that the KTM group, their product and their bike is so good. So from like a consumer public perspective, it's going to take a lot, I feel like, for
but
another brand to come in and really change people's perception of kind of what the best bike in the market is, I feel like. But don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think just people's opinions and attitudes is like the product is so much better than anything else out there right now.
but you say that, but then you're thinking motocross, almost the bike would be, or supercross, you'd think the bike would be more so important than enduro. I mean, not to say like enduro's easy and
No,
you
but
can
I
ride
mean
any
from
bike
a
around it, but
consumer perspective, like amongst the motocross models, you can pretty much pick anyone off the showroom, and like
I
an
get what you're
average
saying.
rider is going to be competitive and do just about each model or each manufacturer, is going to do more or less everything a hobby rider is ever going to want from it, or your average
I know what you're
consumer.
saying is
Whereas in our
KTM,
world,
literally, they make a bike for enduro.
their
Is what
bikes
you're saying,
their
basically.
product is very, very good. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I think it's not impossible, and I think the more Triumph's obviously making a good effort. They are clearly, they've had an Enduro GP team. They've got a Super Enduro Johnny's riding that, so that's good to see. I don't know what Ducati's plans are. I've heard that they do want to enter Enduro, so that's good. Stock obviously done Super Enduro last year, and there's talk or rumors of them also having an Enduro GP team next year. So like I say, I mean, I think it's only a positive that there's more want to get involved. It's just kind of, it's not like motocross where you have 10, 15 privateer guys that, effectively, if the rides were available, they deserve to have the rides. We just don't have kind of that level. But again, we have a youth and a junior championship in Super Enduro, and in Super Enduro is definitely in a really healthy position. Like the junior riders and the youth riders, they are like really coming on strong. I think hard enduro still needs a little bit of time to catch up and you've got like one or two good junior riders, but it would be nice to see a few more. But like I say, I think it's the sports kind of come from such a confusing beginning and everything was kind of all over the place, whereas now we're kind of starting to have a bit more structure and it's a bit easier to follow. It's kind of got to start again almost, which hopefully continues to do like it is.
Where does it tap out at? How do the bikes get much better than what they already are? You know what I mean?
That's a good question.
They have electric starts. I mean, they're
because
just
you look at old bikes, like from like what year is that bike you've got? Like 2009, Tommy, the KDM.
Yeah, so
it's not a lot different to what you see now. Like on like in terms of a factory level. You know, really, like what comes next is hard to say. Like, I think eventually some electronic suspension stuff, like is happening in mountain bikes, might come into play. Do you think that would be useful? Having been able to just having like suspension settings, then would you change them on a supercross track? I guess you probably would for whoops, right?
So they put it on a computer, you change it.
So like at the minute in mountain bikes, there's a few different versions going around, but like they're either like electronically locking the suspension, or I think now there's even got like maps and have like two different suspension settings, which they've got like a switch on the handlebars and stuff. It's like just starting to trickle into it. Like Specialized have had it for a few years, but now just about everyone else has got a version of it.
Where something like that would be amazing would be SMX, because always fighting between supercross suspension and then motocross is too soft. But there is a lot of outdoor sections where the motocross suspension would be amazing, right? That would be cool, just to like think supercross suspension, think motocross suspension. But really, my opinion is the bikes are already like pretty good. I mean, I think probably their biggest goal is just to make them lighter at this point, right? There are heavy bikes.
But do you think there's a limit of lightness?
Yeah, but I don't
think you'd want to go too light.
Got on a bike and gone, this is heavy, or someone's put titanium bolts on and I've gone, much better.
When I was on Pro Circuit, Mitch would literally cut the graphic kits out.
Yeah.
Like, you would have all the graphics on, but every single sticker was cut out. Like the background. Yeah, all the stickers, but it was straight on the plastic. So, and that was just the same, and it was just they would do all these little things. Yeah, I think know where the future holds on.
Weight distribution is probably as important as actual weight.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because when you ride in the mud and your bike is heavy, sometimes that is awful. Like, because when it starts swapping, it comes back way too far, and you're like, can you imagine riding a wet supercross track? Like Bill said, how much is too light? It's hard to see where it changes, because
I don't know.
Nothing's changed really in the way of suspension, because the stuff in 2009, like from a factory KTM, I think the fork is very similar. And then in one way, they've actually gone from like a 52 mil to they don't have that anymore, do they, the forks?
No, I mean, inside there's a lot different materials and stuff. Like the concept of it and the way it works is relatively similar. Like materials and stuff have changed inside. But yeah, I mean, I never actually used a 52. That actually stopped the year I signed with Husky. But so I don't know. I heard from one side that was from a cost that they stopped making them. They were too expensive to produce, with like not selling them. But yeah, like it is hard to say. Like it's pretty interesting.
Bill, you've only rode at Husky for your entire career, other than a couple of years when you was upcoming and got signed. What's the benefit for you to stay in that team the whole time if you pretty much got everyone working for you? And have you see anything that you've put into development come full circle and be put on a standard bikes that you've been like, this is going to be much better, and then actually see it on a stock bike and think that's pretty cool?
Well, the second part's interesting. I'm not too sure. When I first actually signed with Husky, I did a lot more like R&D tests and well, not a lot more, but I'd done a few tests for production stuff, and I haven't actually done any of them in the last few years at all. So not so much on that side, but obviously the benefit is just kind of the comfort and the team I have around us. I think in the sport and the world I am is the best there is. There's kind of nowhere to go that's going to put me in a better situation or give me a better bike or have better people around us. So, I was lucky to be there from kind of such a young age. Kind of on that topic slightly, going back to what Dean said at the beginning, like when he first signed with Pro Circuit, he had a suspension guy that would kind of do everything, watch and do everything for him. I was kind of the opposite way, because I was like it was the first time that they'd signed a younger rider, signing me. Like my teammate was Graham, Alfredo, Johnny, Taddy, everyone that had been there kind of like a lot of years, and they all kind of knew what they want. So when I first signed, and I remember my first bike, I just didn't like it at all. My first factory Husky, and I didn't know why, because I was also so new into enduro. Like I hadn't done any testing. That first year I rode for KTM, like as a privateer, I didn't do testing. Some of my bikes would have revalved suspension, but I'd tell the difference, but I wouldn't know what had been done, because I was kind of riding and borrowing people's bikes here, there, and everywhere. So I got given this factory Husky, and I'm just like, I just can't ride it, and didn't enjoy it. It felt big, it felt heavy. And then I even went to do my first suspension test, and it ended up being that same technician that I kept. He left last year, or the start of this year he left actually. But at the first test, we were like both just, he was like, what do you want? And I don't know, like it was the worst. Looking back now, it was so awkward. Like I'm just like, I don't know what I want. Just, it doesn't feel nice. Like I couldn't translate nothing. And then we would joke about it like 8 years later. Like it's pretty mad. Oh, like when he left, he actually sent us a message like, oh, it's amazing how far you've came. And he remembers the first day in Italy together where like you just said nothing, knew nothing, weren't happy, to whereas now like we could, he could tell what I needed.
One rider in particular that comes to mind with same team, same bike as such, and I feel it's so much of a benefit and why he's gone so long, is Caroli.
Yeah, I was about to say Caroli.
It's insane the team he has around him. It was like a family. And just from me being on that team for the 1 year and seeing how he was treated, because he was just literally a part of the team. Like they went to dinner together, they went on holiday together. The mum and dad were like his mum and dad. The brothers were like the sons of the team owners were like Caroli's brothers and sisters. It was insane, and I think that's why he still races now, and he's still at the level he is now, where he can turn up and race. And it's because he literally enjoyed being at the racetrack as much as he enjoyed being at home. Whereas, I mean, me and Dean especially, there would have been teams that we've been sat in the back of the van and just been like, what are we doing here this weekend? Like, this is nuts. Like, I just want to be at home.
Yeah,
and although
I do
he
feel
would have
that.
gone through hardship, he's had a very nice, and deservingly so, because no one would have wanted to get rid of him, because he's always been winning, and it was the perfect combination. But it's nice, and the difference from a rider going from team to team, having that one structure throughout his whole career.
Yeah, it's obviously even more so for him because he's Italian anyway. But like my team setup's quite similar in terms of like Fabio Farioli, team manager, is like quite similar to, I think, Claudio in how they operate. They're like Italian, real kind of Italian family vibe at a race. Like we have this old Italian lady comes and cooks dinner at every race and stuff like that. And like I say, I mean, there's the setup I'm in terms of the people from the technical side and from a personal side, or just a enjoyment of life while you're away and at the race, is again, like I say, I feel pretty lucky to kind of be where I am.
Yeah, it's so important. That makes such a difference, being around good people, on the team. I've been on teams where it's not been too enjoyable. Some of the people that are on the team you feel like they don't want to be there, you know what I mean? Team chemistry is massive in this sport. Man, just like even like Jet, Hunter, I had both their mechanics when I was on HRC this year, and man, those two guys are so good. They're so good. Just good vibes, and they get it, right? It's like a mechanic that gets it, and it can read you. So a mechanic that can, I would get on the bike, and they would fully rebuild the bike, and I'd get on the bike, and it's the small things. The bars and everything were like identical, and they set it up, right? Like it's just like little small things that mechanics do that understand you, and it's just
because most racers get caught up on the most bizarre, like weirdest things. Like, the sides of my bike are too slippy. I like want to get off it and don't even want to ride it. I had a new tuner mechanic and like he would put silicone on the sides of the bike, and I would do half a
It's
lap,
like my
and
dad used to do.
I would want to just
SC won
throw
the
this
shit out
bike
of
at
that
his
thing.
head. I just would want to throw it at his head. And when you really think about it, like any hobby rider is probably going to just think, what are you whinging about? Like, you've got a brand new factory practice bike there to ride, and you're getting angry because the sides of the bike are too slippy. But like, we're just all absolute weirdos and all tick in different ways, which is people need to kind of work around that.
Yeah, or what bugs me too, which isn't the mechanic's fault, but like when they bleed the front brake, and sometimes, see, I missed this about the Husky, is the self-adjusters on the front brake where you can go in and out. Sometimes when you bleed the front brake on the Honda, then it gets real touchy, and I don't like a touchy, I like a little bit of sponge. So then like just the braking points at a different point, that drives me nuts.
Can you not self-adjust that on a Honda?
No, you need
I would struggle with that because I'm sat on a start line doing this, like all the way in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like
yeah, I'm saying I'll go in one
my
way.
ADHD would be tripping out on a start line if I couldn't adjust my own.
Oh no,
setup.
yeah, they don't have that.
Clutch especially.
Yeah. Does the Triumph have that, Tom?
Yeah, it's Brembo.
Yeah,
I think.
with proper bike. Yeah.
Nice.
Right, anyway, that's been episode 3 of Against the Rut. Thanks, guys, for joining us, and thanks, everyone, for watching along. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and if you want your question answered in the next one, leave in the comments down below. Right, see you in a bit.
See you later, boys.
Cheers. Thank you.